I've seen the budget described as investment-focused, as austerity, as reckless. Can it be all of those things at once? Look, I won't go through all 493 pages. I will spare you from that. But here's a rundown of what I see as the good, the bad, and the ugly from Budget 2025. Let's start with the good. In the face of threats, the government is rightly prioritizing actions to secure our sovereignty. That includes support for businesses and workers affected by tariffs, a Buy Canada procurement policy, significant new infrastructure spending, and a huge commitment to the Canadian forces. There are also smart, forward-looking ideas, like the Sovereign Fund for Critical Minerals, taking a lesson from Norway. And there are new dollars for innovation and to attract talent and research from the U.S., whose administration seems intent to run intelligence out of its country. There are also useful actions to respond to rising youth unemployment, to support PSWs, to protect the Canada Disability Benefit from taxation, and more. There's lots to like in many ways, and more generally, I welcome the focus on productivity, both to drive economic growth in the private sector and to get the most out of public services, although yes, care is required to ensure those efforts don't go sideways. Now to the bad, or more fairly, where expectations were set at a level that we failed to meet, including on the question of generational investments. First, stalled climate action. I don't want to be too dismissive here, as the Canadian Climate Institute rightly highlighted the importance of a strengthened industrial carbon price. But apart from that promise, there was nothing new. Yes, we are moving forward with strong methane rules and clean investment tax credits, and these are key pieces. But we are also cutting tree planting, moving away from an emissions cap, winding down greener homes, and the budget offers no new money for climate action. On housing, we've got the beginnings of Build Canada Homes, a tax cut for new home buyers, and some dollars for housing-enabling infrastructure that are important but unfortunately very unlikely to move the needle on development charges to a degree we would like. It falls short of these specific promises in our platform, and it unfortunately falls well short of the wartime effort that many of us thought we'd deliver. Now, the fiscal frame of spend less to invest more is actually one that I like. Operational books generally in balance, and a capital deficit spending more easily justified. But the budget adds $140 billion in new spending over 5 years, $90 billion net after savings, and only 36% of the net new spending is capital. Related, there is a lot of deficit financing here to cover non-capital new spending. Yes, honoring our initial 2% commitment to NATO made sense, and a middle-class tax cut was a platform promise. But these are far and away the two largest financial commitments. They are non-capital, and they should be paid for. My kids shouldn't pay for today's military or for me to save $400 of income taxes. And much-needed OAS reform, the largest non-capital growing expenditure, it still isn't part of our political conversation. Now, the ugly, and there isn't a lot that falls in this category, thankfully. First, we see the budget commit to a new inefficient fossil fuel subsidy for LNG facilities. Look, if there's a business case for LNG, there is a business case. We do not need more public dollars chasing fossil fuels. Worse, we see major cuts of over $2.5 billion over 4 years to international development assistance. Real Keir Starmer energy that unfortunately caters to a prevailing, albeit short-sighted current view among wealthy donor countries. A Pearsonian budget this is not. Now, I know these are not easy times and a budget process involves tough choices, of course it does. It's also only a first budget. It can't be expected to solve all problems. And the devil will be in the details of implementation in many cases, as it always is, from infrastructure and housing to innovation spending to the industrial carbon price to finding efficiencies in government in a manner that is fair and effective. Overall, the budget meets the moment in part on questions of sovereignty and with a focus on spurring economic growth at home. And look, it's certainly not a budget that should throw us into an election at such an uncertain time. But fairly, it does not live up to its promise of generational investments. I joked that it was a pretty good progressive conservative budget. I joked. I'll get flack for that. It's a joke. But hey, some conservatives agree.